I am so excited for today's episode because my most downloaded episode to date is my Love Your Body episode. And so today I am back with Love Your Body Part 2. And not only was it the most downloaded episode, I got so many DMs from you on Instagram about the pieces of it that resonated with you, with the specific pieces. And if I had to distill it down to one big takeaway, is it felt very liberating to be able to create pillars that work for you and not have such black and white thinking about our bodies and our health. And so if you haven't listened to the Love Your Body episode, go back and listen to that one first, because it'll just give you some more context for what I'm going to be talking about today. And I'm not going to recap that other than to recap for you what my pillars are. But I want to continue the conversation on how do we make choices that feel really good for the body that we live in now and for the body that we want to have. So I shared in that episode that I have very specific pillars for what I need to feel good and look good. Because yes, friends, both of those things matter very much to me. First and foremost, I want to feel my best, because if I don't feel well, I can't do anything, right? It's the case for all of us. But I also like to look good, because that gives me additional confidence to go out in the world and do all the things that I want to do. So my pillars are water, making sure that I drink enough water every day, that I don't feel dehydrated at the end of the day, that I don't have a ton of cravings, that I don't get a headache. So drink a lot of water. Exercise 5 days a week for 30 to 40 minutes. No, I do not like exercise. No, I do not get that exercise high. I do it mostly because I like how it makes me look, but also because I start to not feel well when I don't do it. Sleep has become another huge priority, and my 22-year-old Wall Street self would be so disappointed looking at just how much sleep I need these days to feel good. But it is what it is. Here we are, mid-40s, requiring a lot of sleep. So whereas I used to really push it and push through the exhaustion, stay up late to get things done, now when I do that, I pay for it for days. It's just not worth it. So sleep is a big one. Healthy eating. Now, for me, what that looks like is a combination of really prioritizing nutrient-dense foods, but also really eating everything that I want to eat in moderation, and eating the less healthy things later in the day. Because I find when I eat too many carbs, too much sugar in the early part of the day, I drag, I get tons of cravings, I feel snacky, and I don't feel my best. So I don't deprive myself. I just am more planned. I was going to say calculated. I don't love that word. Just more planned about having my less healthy food towards the end of the day. Sex is another one of my pillars, because do I even need to explain why? Come on. Because it feels good. Because it's a great way to connect with my husband, because I have seen a correlation between having great orgasms and having great abundance come into my life. And my final pillar is beauty appointments. I get regular blowouts. I get my nails done every couple weeks. I get my lashes done every couple weeks. I do laser treatments, lots of things. So water, exercise, sleep, healthy eating, sex, beauty appointments. Those are what I do to look and feel my best. But the crux of this episode is to help you figure out what you want to do to feel your best. And the key word is want. What do you want to do to feel your best? Not what do you have to do. You don't have to do anything. And I think when we can have this mindset reframe around, we get to decide how we want to look, we get to decide how we want to feel, but then we have to take action steps to get there. And I shared this in the last episode, the last Love Your Body episode, that you have to pick your hard. It is hard deciding to eat healthy foods during the day when I am craving unhealthy foods, but it's also hard eating those foods during the day and feeling like crap and not being able to get things done. So the hard that I'm picking is the one that gives me the best of both worlds. So if you really start thinking about pick your hard, what do you want your hard to look like? You take back control. You stop feeling like you're doing this because of societal pressure or because internal pressure you're putting on yourselves. You're doing this because you love yourself and you want to feel good and you want to look good. And there is another quote that I love that is, you can't be upset at results you didn't get for work you didn't do. So I want to look like someone who works out. I want to be muscular. I want you to be able to see my abs, but I'm only willing to work out 30 to 40 minutes, 5 days a week. So I have to be realistic about what I'm going to achieve. And I can achieve a good result if I wanted to be even more muscular, even leaner. I'd have to work harder, and I'm not going to do that. And so I can't be upset that I'm not reaching a certain aesthetic because I'm unwilling to do the work to get there. And when I frame it like that, it's like, okay, there is nothing intrinsically wrong with me. I am just making choices to give me the life that I want. So as you are thinking about this, what do you want? What do you want? How do you want to look? How do you want to feel? And what choices will you make to get there? Now, I love to use a sort of experimental mindset when it comes to this because there's so much noise out there and some of it's helpful, right? You're on Instagram. I have a little bit gone down the TikTok rabbit hole the past few weeks, I will say. I actually had to delete it off my phone, even though I have a TikTok account for work. My executive assistant actually posts most of the things on there, and then she'll tag me if I need to respond to a comment because it's fun to be on TikTok, but it's not fun when you've wasted so much of your day on it. So the hard that I've picked with that is to just not be on it. It's like, I've had to go completely abstinent. Otherwise it's not a healthy situation for me. But there are great tips and great things out there. And I think if you can use this experimental attitude and try things out and see what works for you, but know that all of our bodies are different. So one perfect example of this is I got sucked into buying AG1 and I had messaged people like, do you really use this? Does it really taste good? Yes, yes, yes. I love it. I swear by it. Okay. And I think these people are being honest. I mean, I know people in real life who love it. And I got it. And I actually don't mind the taste. The taste is fine, but it always gave me a stomach ache. And I was like, why? Is it because I'm having an empty stomach? I've never heard anyone talk about having a stomach ache from it. And then I posted on Instagram that it gives me a stomach ache. And I cannot tell you how many messages I got from people like, oh my gosh, it gives me a stomach ache too. That stuff is disgusting. I can't even try it. So I think it's a real legit thing that people love it and have benefits from it and it works for them. And for me, it doesn't work for me. So this is what I'm talking about, where you have to try the things that work for you. Maybe it will give you this incredible energy boost and you'll love how it feels and you'll stop drinking your coffee. It didn't do that for me. Similarly with working out, I know I see it with my husband that some people get that like workout high. They get that massive adrenaline boost from working out. And I believe that that is a thing. And I do not get that. It just doesn't happen for me. I mean, I probably 5 times in my lifetime have I experienced that. And it was usually when I was running. I've run a couple very short races, 10K being the most. And I had to train for like 9 months to run a 10K. I'm not even kidding you. It was so hard and I would never do it again. So it's not for me. It's not worth it for me. But in general, I don't get that workout high and other people do. So for me, I've set an appropriate amount of time that I'm willing to work out for that won't get me bored. I don't seek that high. And I do workouts that are actually not very cardio focused. So I'm not going to get that high anyway. I don't want the workout high. I don't want to have my hair sweaty. I don't want to have to wash it more. So I've picked workouts that I like more than others. Like I really deprioritize cardio. I do not do HIIT workouts anymore. I really much more focus on weightlifting and things that I actually enjoy. Here's another one that might surprise you. And I'm sure any of my nutrition listeners out there are going to come back with why this is. But I've noticed that if I eat too clean, I get headaches. And I know that it is probably a detox process, but I've tried it for weeks and weeks on end, and I actually don't feel as well. And we can blame that on the standard American diet or all the toxins that are in my body. Whatever it is, I don't actually care. I don't want to eat a fully clean diet. I eat a lot of healthy things, fruits and vegetables, high quality protein, so important. And so is my occasional Diet Coke. So is my occasional non high quality chocolate. So are my Starbursts that I have in my house, right? So I don't feel the need to have this totally clean diet. And then you'll see other people whose like faces have transformed from, reducing inflammation because they eat only healthy foods. And that's amazing for them. So the bottom line is you have to try what works for you. Listen to what people are saying because it's so interesting. There's so many options out there, but don't let it make you feel overwhelmed and like you have to try all the things because certainly not everything is going to work for you. Test the things out that feel interesting, see what works for you, and leave the rest. So what this all boils down to is getting really clear on what is your big goal. Is it an aesthetic goal? If it is, that is totally fine. Or is it you want to have more energy? Is it there's a pair of jeans that you want to fit back into? That would be an aesthetic goal. But like really, what is it? And as you approach this love your body concept and finding out what your pillars are to make you feel your best, do it from a place of wanting to love how you look and feel, not because you hate the current state of affairs. Like, can you see the difference? It's not because you hate who you are now, but it's because you want to love this future version. So we're not going to focus on all the things that we've done wrong or the things we don't like. We're not going to tear ourselves apart. We're just going to get curious about what are the things that might make us feel and look our best. Let's be realistic about our age and how our bodies have changed. I do not buy into this belief that you have to gain weight when you start going through menopause and that you have to have crappy sleep and all the things. But the reality is, it is harder to maintain a body that was once easier to maintain. So, what does that look like for you? What changes do you need to make? Right. So, I think we can look and feel however we want, but this is where we have to get super curious about how we're going to get there and get really clear on what our goal is. Like, if your goal this summer, for the rest of the summer, is to continue to be going to barbecues and you're out on a boat and you're drinking and you're having dessert every night and you are loving it, that is amazing. Enjoy every second of that. And then don't think about, having to put your jeans back on in the fall if you're wearing your flowy dresses, right? Because you're probably not going to be able to have both things at once. So you get to choose what your goal is for right now, which is enjoying every moment. And maybe your goal when fall comes around again is to like dial it back in, to not drink as much, to work out more, right? Like, let's not be so wound up and so serious about it. Like, how can we make it fun? This is our lives, friend. There's no finish line. Well, there is a finish line, but there's no rush to a certain outcome, right? Like, enjoy all of it. Enjoy all of the seasons of it. And there really is this balance between accepting that we have aged and things have changed, but just rejecting this idea that certain changes are going to be inevitable for you. And this is kind of a random story, but I always think it's interesting. Under the heading of make sure you're doing these things for you and you alone. And when I was 22 and working on Wall Street, so I've always been into my nails. Like, I used to paint my nails myself all through middle school and high school. I didn't get manicures. That wasn't a thing when I was growing up. I did it for like homecoming and prom. But when I started working after college in New York, I would get weekly manicures. This was before gel, friends. So you'd have to go every week. And I loved it because I loved having pretty nails. I loved going to the salon, but I had a girlfriend who I was working on Wall Street with, and she was like, I feel like we should have a budget, like a work budget where we can pay to get our nails done. She's like, I don't even enjoy this. I feel like it is an expectation that when I go in these meetings that my nails are painted and polished and that we look a certain way. Like she felt like she had to maintain her manicure as a work obligation and really stopped enjoying it. I thought, oh, that's so interesting. Like I don't feel that way because I love getting my nails done, but I could see how that would feel like a really frustrating pressure that, newsflash, only girls have to deal with. So that has really stuck with me, clearly, because that was over 2 decades ago that we had that conversation. And I still think about that often. And it really just, for me, anchors in this idea of do it for you. Do what makes you feel your best because you want to do that, not because you think that's what you should be doing. And you might look at someone and be like, oh, I would love to be someone that gets their nails or always has their nails done. I would love to be someone that looks put together, but I don't want to be that person that sits in the manicure chair, or I don't want to be that person that spends money on a blowout. So, going back to the beginning of this episode, pick your heart, or don't be upset at results you didn't get for the thing you're not willing to do. So which is it? If you are someone who doesn't love to get your nails done, maybe accept that you're going to not have your nails done all the time. And when you look at someone who is put together all the time, recognize that they are likely doing it because they do love it. And so that's the difference. Like, don't let it make you feel bad about yourself. Just recognize, like, we all have different interests. There's different things we enjoy. So it really boils down to do it for you, do the things you love, and choose what makes you feel your best. And I do want to talk about this idea of feeling sexy, because I think we don't talk about it enough. And I think a lot of us are craving feeling sexier. That is a piece of loving our bodies and feeling good and looking good. And ask yourself, how do you want to show up in the world? Sometimes for me, I feel my sexiest when I am in the softest clothing I own, sitting on my couch under a warm blanket. And other times I feel my sexiest when I am wearing sexy lingerie, when I am wearing high heels, when I am all done up. We don't just have to be one thing in this world. We get to be all the things we want to be, not all at once, like in the same moment, but you don't have to decide that you only want to be this one version. You get to be all of the versions of yourself. Like, the version of you that's out on a boat drinking every night. And then the version of you that when school starts again, you're like only drinking on the weekend because you love feeling clear headed during the week. You get to have all those things. No judgment. Just what do you want? And I got one question, only one question, when I posted a question box on Instagram about this topic. Like, what did you want me to talk about in version 2 of this? And it was kind of 2 questions all wrapped up in one. So it was, how do you work so hard, manage the house, have 2 kids, and look amazing? And how are your teeth so white? So I'll answer the second one first. As part of my monthly reset, I bleach my teeth once a month. There are some beautification things that I do weekly as part of my Sunday reset. And there are beautification things that I do monthly as part of my monthly reset. And bleaching my teeth with just like Crest white strips or Luminu white strips for 30 minutes once a month is how I maintain, because I am like teeth obsessed and I do want to have white teeth. And so it is actually something that I work towards. And so the first question of how do you work so hard, manage the house, 2 kids, and look amazing? I think some people might look at what I do and think it is effortless. And it is, from the perspective of I spent the time getting organized and setting up a life that supports this. One thing I have going for me is that I actually love to work. So it is not a pain point for me to have to work hard. That is just something that I am intrinsically motivated to do. And I don't take that for granted because not everyone is like that. I think it is just something in me. So working in terms of like the business that I run is pretty much nonstop. I do have to make myself unplug because I also value downtime. But it feels and looks effortless because in many ways it is now, but because I did the work to declutter my entire house, to organize my entire house, to eliminate all the pain points that make me mad, make me frustrated, stress me out, put in systems. I have an amazing husband who's always been amazing, but going through this process of decluttering and organizing and telling him exactly what I need, and then him doing it because he loves and respects me, that makes my life easier. Having kids who are now 14 and 10, who have been living this way since they were little. I mean, I went through this process at this point 7, 8 years ago. So they make their own beds. They put their laundry in the hamper. They help out with laundry when I need them to help. They help unload the groceries. They load the dishwasher with their dishes at the end of the day. Like, I am not doing it all because I did all of the work to get everyone in the family to help. Along with the decluttering and organizing of my house, I've worked really hard to declutter my negative thought patterns, to get rid of toxic relationships, all the stuff that I talk about all the time in this podcast, in my membership, all the things that I talk about. I actually did it. And I did it not to say that I'm organized, but for the good life that comes along with it. So think about your life right now, okay? If your house was totally organized, if you were on top of your calendar, if you didn't have a million things throughout the day that made you annoyed in your house, like the things that you could control, think about how much more time and energy you would have to do things like get ready in the morning, to be present with your kids, to hang out with them. So I did all the hard work, and I continue to do my daily, weekly, and monthly reset so that I can have time to work out in the morning, to be on top of our lives, to spend really nice quality time with my kids and my husband, and to look good. I also have a lot of hacks, right? I wash my hair only once or twice a week. I invested however crazy amount of money it is for the Dyson Airwrap because it helps me have the curls that I like. I am willing to invest time and money in things that are going to make my life easier and that are going to make me look better because I know that it pays itself back in dividends, sometimes in money, sometimes in time, always in energy and happiness, and it's worth it. So it is easy-ish now to do all that. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are still hard moments and hard days, but it's much easier than it used to be because I did all the hard work. And that is true with everything. You know, the sort of gotten off track now from Love Your Body, but let's reel it back. Let's tie it back in. But it comes down to all the stuff with loving your body also. You have to do the hard work of experimenting, seeing what feels good, seeing what doesn't feel good, testing things out for you to then be able to land on the things that are going to work for you. And then they become effortless. Like, I don't think about, do I want to get up? It's a random Wednesday. Do I want to get up and work out? No, I work out on Wednesdays. I work out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Like, I don't have to think about it. So it just makes it easier. When I leave the nail appointment, I've already booked my next nail appointment because that's how I manage my schedule. So I don't have to think about maintaining my nails. Like, I just know I have an appointment and I'm not going to schedule calls in that time slot, right? Like, it becomes very systematized and it becomes so much easier, including all of these pillars that we've chosen to love our body, to look and feel our best. So if it sounds hard, just know that life is hard no matter what. It just is. It's just hard. And so pick your heart. Decide to get curious, to do the work right now to make your life easier and that much better, because you deserve to be hot. You deserve to feel hot. So really encourage you to figure out what pillars work for you and to remember that you can't hate yourself into the person you want to be. You have to love yourself into her. And I will leave you with this. Accountability is an absolute must. If desire alone were enough, we would all be where we want to be. We'd all be where we want to be if just wanting it was enough. We have to do the work. And I have found for myself and for people I coach in my membership and for people I coach in my business masterminds, without accountability, we lose focus and we fall short of our goal. with accountability, we can achieve anything. So if that means finding a health buddy, if that means joining a program, whatever that looks like for you, just know that if wanting it were enough, you would have had it by now. So what can you do differently? If you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten. What can you do differently to make it actually stick this time? You are too hot to be a hot mess friend. And I want you to feel and look just as hot as you are meant to. So I hope that this episode resonated just as much as the first Love Your Body. If you didn't listen to that one, go back and listen to it now. And I will be in your ears next week. Have a great one.